I'm here. I'm from the local offer. I'm from the Northamptonshire County Council, and I've been invited to come along to the What's Next over at Daventry Hill. So the local offer, I should say, because I always forget to say, is actually a website, and you can find us on the County Council website, or you can Google Northamptonshire Local Offer, and you will land on us fairly easily and fairly promptly. www.northamptonshire.gov.uk/local-offer. So my name's Cathy Forsdyke. I have a very long title called the Information Business Support Team Manager, Local Offer. I tend to call myself the Local Offer Manager, and I work with the Education, Health and Care team. And I am completely supported in my role by Julia, who's a Local Offer Development Worker. And if you follow us on social media, whilst it does say my name, mostly it's Julia that does all our social media for us. She's a communications specialist. So we sit under Children First Northamptonshire, Learning Skills for Education for Vulnerable Learners. As I said, it's part of the Education, Health and Care team, and that's where the local offer sits. So the SEND Code of Practice states that every local authority should have a local offer, and that we must provide information about the provision and services we believe to be available in our area. So today we should have, of all the providers that have are here at this event, you should find their contact details on the local offer. So if you are looking, or there was something that you wanted to check, you can find everyone. Some of the adult daycare providers we don't have, but most of them are. And if you can't find them, get in touch and we'll see what we can find. The legislation states that the local offer is to be more than just a directory. So it has to be online, and it has to include arrangements for people who aren't online. So more than a directory means that we can provide leaflets and information and guides and easy read guides. There is a wealth of information on the local offer. So for some of the people who want to get to the local offer but who aren't online, our NCC, Northamptonshire County Council's customer services, they answer the phone for us. Now, they may well still be answering for COVID calls on this number, but you could phone through. We are all working from home at the moment, so I should say that if you do phone through, they'll probably just email me and ask me to phone you back. Our libraries are opening up slowly, but they provide free access to the internet if you are looking for government sites, and library staff should also know how to use the local offer. We produce the SNCS magazine, the local offer, Julia and I do, so lots of people get the SNCS magazine, so I do hope that plenty of people have come across that and find it useful. We have a portfolio of information, articles and leaflets, including one specifically for young adults that are approaching the end of their statutory education, and I believe Stacey will be able to share those out when she sends out the information, but we can of course always provide those if you get in touch with us. The local offer has an active social media presence. We're on Facebook and Twitter. We're also on Instagram, so please do follow us on that. We try and share information that's useful. We try and be entertaining, and we're always factual. We do check our stuff. We do check our details. So a little bit about what's next. So Stacey asked me to mention a little bit about the EHC plan and the process. So an EHC plan, for those of you, most of you will, your children will already have one, will continue for up to the age of 25 when someone is continuing in education. And generally it has to be an Ofsted registered setting. I'm not aware of anyone with a plan going to somewhere that isn't Ofsted registered. It's also worth bearing in mind that an EHC plan will end when if and when, and we do have quite a few youngsters with plans, go on to university for a higher education course. They will cease at that point because the universities take over, and they can provide really quite adequate support. There are also providers that can help with a young person who may need a personal assistant at university, and we could find those on the local offer. It's also worth noting that a plan will end when or if your young person attends an adult social care venue. So some of the providers that are here today fall into that category. And so Basically, it's going to come down to funding. That education, health and care plan will fund the education side in an education setting. And if you're going into adult social care, then you'll need to think about different ways of funding. And the plan will end always when the young person leaves education. So there's no reason why young people with additional needs can't be successful in work with the right support. And that's when their plan will end. It is worth pointing out that the education, health and care plan will continue during a supported internship and apprenticeship, because that is considered to be education, and the academic side of it is supported through, as we've been hearing, through some of the academic settings. They will support that. So a few hints and tips about what might happen next if you're looking at your post-16 choices. A letter will be sent by the EHC team by the end of the autumn term for year 11s or year 13s if they're in sixth form, asking about what will happen, what the plans are for next. The law states that the EHC team must write to the young person if they're over 16 and not their parents. You must reply. It's really, it's one of those things that's really important to say what the plans are. I think it's worth noting that if there's an expectation that young people under the age of 18 will access some sort of education, even if they're working full-time or volunteering. So it's an expectation within the education law. There's an academic progression expectation within the education, health and care plan as well, that would expect young people to continue to make progress, that they're still working towards learning, improving their learning and aiming to go somewhere. It's also worth noting about transport, and I am not a transport expert, that transport to a post-16 educational setting is not free. It's not for students going on to mainstream sixth form and not for special school sixth form. So it is means tested. So if there is benefits being claimed by the family, then there will be some help, but there will be an expectation that there is a contribution to the cost of transport. You have to book it each year, so even if your young person is staying on at the same school but going into sixth form, you will have to apply for transport, and the cut-off date is the third Friday in May each year. So once you've made a decision about what's going to be happening this time next year, by May, you must apply for transport, and there's an online form, because the County Council loves its online forms, on the transport websites. You can find the links through the local offer if you need to, and you will need to book it each year that your young person is in post-16 education. There's always people that are late in applying, and then there's always then a problem in September. It just takes the transport team quite a while to get it all settled in, and they can't guarantee that they can sort anything until October if you're late. So that's a really big hint about sorting out your transport. On the local offer website, and I have put a link on this, but I'm not going to try the technical stuff because you never know, it might go wrong. But you can look up on the local offer, there's a tile that says education, and then you can click into that and it will say 16 plus schools and colleges. And then you can click into that and then filter it down for all the local colleges. We've also got some of the colleges that are in our neighbouring counties, in the neighbouring authorities. So we've got students that go on to Stamford and students that go on to Banbury. Depending on where they live in the county, if they're right on the border, it can be easier to get to those colleges. So we've got those on the local offer as well, which you might find useful, because I think we have quite a range of people at this event, not just from Daventry. I'm just checking my notes, make sure I've said everything I needed to say about that. Yeah. So we heard earlier about what next, work. And I think work is definitely somewhere to be aiming for, and there's no reason, like I said, that young people with the right support can't be successful in work. So we heard earlier from my colleagues from the County Council, from the Employment and Disability Service, they were talking about supported internships, but they also do help young people find work. They are commissioned by the government and are managed by Northamptonshire Adult Social Services. Then there's also a sister service within them that is called, I never know whether it's live or live, but Learning, Independence, Volunteering and Employment. And they are also part of Northamptonshire Adult Social Services, and they offer opportunities for young people with learning disabilities and have other disadvantages. That means getting into employment is more difficult. So they're definitely worth using. They've been doing it for a long time, over 38 years, and have got a lot of people into successful employment. And then of course there are a number of agencies that can support youngsters into work. I mean, that's MenCap video that we saw most of, and also Northampton National Autistic Society, and they can also support youngsters into work and have schemes that do so. And I believe there are a few local agencies as well that specialise in trying to support youngsters. So there is help to get work. I should also mention that there's a government grant called the Access to Work grant, and that will support employers and the young people if they need specialist equipment to get themselves into work. I heard of a young man a year or so ago who was working, I think it was at a cinema, which finished late after his last bus went. So he used the Access to Work grant to get a taxi home, because at that point he wasn't driving, but I believe he was using his earnings to learn to drive. So, you know, it's there are grants to help people get through, and certainly that one's very useful if people have a learning impairment or a hearing impairment, that can help the employer buy the right equipment to help the young person at work. What next? So I point out that there are some people who aren't going to go on and be able to lead totally independent lives and who will need support in the day. And so, you know, really these are the people that we would say you need to have an adult social care assessment. So the providers within adult daycare, they offer support, they teach life skills, they provide recreational activities. And we have, you know, there are lots of energetic and exciting daycare providers around and about the county. And they really give the young people some really great opportunities, and they continue to learn, and they're continuing to get life skills, and they're continuing to make progress, but they are giving the youngsters much more support. So you will need, if you're at school, your school staff to refer you to the 18 to 25 disabilities team. And if your young person's already at college and you don't think they're going to be able to go to work, then ask the college to refer to the 18 to 25 disabilities team, and they'll help with an assessment for adult social care. You will probably start finding out things about the Mental Capacity Act, about advocacy services, about mobility, and, you know, there are things about independent living that, you know, down the road, maybe in a few years' time, not just now, because, you know, 18 is a bit young to be leaving home, but there are opportunities for supported living, so people can have their own flat that's supported, and start to lead independent lives, but supported. So it's that you will need guidance to take you through that process, and it will be through adult social services. I think it's also really important that, you know, a social life, when you go to school or college, you're surrounded by young people of the same age, but there are lots of activities in normal times for young people as they get older. So there's the FAB, have been around for a long time, and there are quite a few of those around in the county. There's the Rocking Road Runner that have a, I think it's a monthly club in town, and they do their annual festival, which this year has been cancelled. There's the Tuesday Disco, there's lots of sports groups, there's autism groups. So the social life is also, it's really an important part of being an adult. It's part of it. So we've got as many of those on the local offer as I know about. I'm quite passionate about finding out about new agencies and organisations. I don't know of them all because someone will pop up that I haven't heard of, but I do then encourage them to register with the local offer so that you can find this information. And I take 18 to 25, that's like just adults really. So I do say a few tips about how to get the best out of the local offer website. Familiarity is definitely a good thing. The more you use it, the easier it will be. I personally always search by keyword. So if I'm looking for something, I would type in the keywords, but I'd be looking for something like Northampton College or football or something like that. But if you're not 100% sure, you can have a look at everything and then filter and refine it as you go through. Once you filter, you can cut out a lot of other things, but use the refines to help you narrow it down. You can refine by area, you can refine by diagnosis, you can refine by facilities. There's lots of things that you can refine. And you can ask Julia and I to help you search as well. Just email into localoffer@northamptonshire.co.uk and we will do our best to help you find what you're looking for. I promise that we will do our best. So thanks very much for listening to me. I hope you find that the local offer of use to you and your family. You're very welcome to always give us feedback on the local offer. You can use our online forms or you can get in touch with us through social media. And that is over for me.